Thank you to Dollar Shave Club for sponsoring this video. Dollar Shave Club covers all of your grooming needs: shower, oral care, deodorants, and most importantly, shaving. Now, I don't shave my beard, obviously, but I do shave my head, and that experience has become so much easier since switching to Dollar Shave Club and using their high-quality blades. Dollar Shave Club sent me their Ultimate Shave Starter Set, razor and blades. Of course, I got the 6-blade executive version, because I'm fancy. There's also Prep Scrub, that's for before, shave butter for during, and the post-shave dew, which you use afterwards. I like this stuff. My head tends to get a bit dry after I've shaved, so I slap some of this stuff on, and it's fantastic. Visit dollarshaveclub.com/brainfood and get this Ultimate Shave Starter Set for only $5. Also, you can round out your grooming routine by adding any of their other high-quality products. After that, the restock box ships full-size products at a regular price. And let's get into today's video. If you've ever heard of Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico at all, it's probably because, for a time, the densely populated town next to El Paso, Texas, was known as the most dangerous city in the world. Yeah, that's the only thing I know about this place. Wasn't it where they were hanging people from bridges because there were so many gangs? It's like the one place in the world I don't want to go. No, there's loads of places I don't want to go, but I don't want to go there. But it turns out that at one point, a bizarre sequence of events led to a rather odd nuclear disaster occurring there. Now, you might at this point be wondering how such a thing could happen, given the area does not have a nuclear plant, and Mexico is not a country that has nuclear weapons either. So, how did they have widespread nuclear disaster? On December 6, 1983, when Vicente Sotelo Alarin and Ricardo Hernandez, two maintenance workers from the Hospital Specialties Medical Center, were told to take equipment from a warehouse to be sold as scrap. While gathering said equipment, Vicente and Ricardo saw a Picker 3000, a radiotherapy machine used for cancer treatment. Probably ignoring what it was or how dangerous what was inside it could be, they decided to disassemble it out of curiosity using Jeremy Clarkson's favorite tool, a hammer. Inside the engine head, they found approximately 6,000 small pellets of cobalt-60. For the uninitiated, cobalt-60 is a radioactive isotope that is created when cobalt-59 is bombarded with a neutron source. When it decays, it emits beta particles, which are high-energy neutrons or positrons, and gamma rays, which are considered emissions with the highest energy levels in the electromagnetic spectrum. As you might imagine, this is not good for your health, since it could give you radiation poisoning and an acute case of being dead. And the prognosis after being diagnosed with death is, well, not good. So at this point, you can probably start to see the issue for the two maintenance workers. But how did the problem become widespread? Vicente and Ricardo took everything they could carry to a local junkyard called Yonka Phoenix using Vicente's Datsun pickup truck. Along the way, pellets fell out of the vehicle. It should be noted that these pellets were very, very dangerous, with a half-life of 5.27 years, meaning that to reduce the emissions by half, you have to wait a whole 5 years. They sold everything they had and collected $8.50, about $26 today, and they went home. On the way, the pickup broke down and it was parked next to the Rio Grande River for 2 days. According to Vicente, after fixing the truck, he drove it and parked it in front of his house. As if all of this bad luck wasn't enough, he found out that someone stole the battery from the vehicle just outside his own home. Seeing as it couldn't be moved, he decided to leave it there and replace the battery later. The result was that he left it there for several weeks. According to the report from the Mexican agency, the National Nuclear Safety and Safeguards Commission, CNSNS, the pickup was found only after January 26, 1984, meaning the highly radioactive pickup truck was parked for 7 weeks in a densely populated area. Okay, so that's still not super widespread. So how did it get worse? I'm betting it's something to do with that river. Well, the situation didn't improve when the junkyard, not knowing they had received highly dangerous material, started to move it around using an electromagnetic crane and other equipment, polluting them and spreading the radiation like a massive invisible infection. More significantly, the junkyard had a deal with smelter factories to take some scrap metal and use it for rebar in construction projects and table legs. The net result was some 6,000, 20,000 tons of contaminated metal being used in buildings and other such projects all over the country without anyone being any the wiser at this point. So if neither Vicente, Ricardo, the junkyard workers, or the smaller factories knew the material was radioactive, how did we find out about this? Well, the era before smartphones and widespread use of GPS might have actually saved lives. By January 16, 1984, one of the trucks that carried some of the radioactive steel through the United States got lost in New Mexico. While trying to find the right route, the truck passed quite near to Los Alamos National Security Lab. Yep, that lab, the one where the Manhattan Project was developed. The lab had sensors that detected radiation just outside the facilities because, they don't want their radioactive materials to leave the presence without authorization for obvious reasons. When the radiation was sensed, it triggered cameras that took pictures of the vehicle. Using these photographs, the agency tracked the vehicle and tried to contact the driver, finally catching up with him in a motel. When he left his room, he was surrounded by a small army of people wearing protective suits to handle the situation. When the agency measured the radiation of the vehicle, it emitted an astounding 1,000 rems. To give an idea of just how high it is, you'll get serious radiation poisoning and possibly death at around 300 rems. The truck emitted more than 3 times this while traveling about on United States soil. After they found out the truck came from Mexico, the American authorities contacted the appropriate Mexican agency to figure out what on earth was going on. They then expended considerable efforts to ultimately track down all the contaminated material and attempt to contain the rather far-flung problem as fast as possible. While the United States authorities estimate they gathered 90% of the radioactive steel that entered their country and returned it back to Mexico, Mexican authorities had worse results in dealing with the same problems, and shady practices played a huge part of it. When the authorities located the pickup truck, they isolated it temporarily by dropping it in one of the most public parks in Ciudad Juarez, securing it with just a fence. Meanwhile, in an attempt to find each and every dropped pellet in the city, they had all the roads cleaned by steel workers sweeping the streets and sifting through dirt with shovels and plastic bags, while CNSNS personnel hid behind barrels filled with water. For anyone out there working with Cobalt-60, this is not how you safely secure such radioactive material. On top of that, they had to track down every contaminated batch of steel that was transported around the country, which is a daunting and really almost impossible task. In an attempt to help, the United States Department of Energy provided a helicopter equipped with sensors to check for hotspots and look for pellets and steel, but it might not have been enough. It is believed that thousands of tons of radioactive steel rebar was transported to multiple Mexican states to be used in housing and buildings. There is still a local legend that one of the largest mall centers in the city was built with hot steel and hidden from public record by corruption and bribery. Although this has not been corroborated, the dates of construction do conveniently align for this to be possible. All of the hazardous material found near Ciudad Juarez was ultimately stored in a nuclear graveyard located at the Salamaluca Desert near the city, about 24 kilometers or 15 miles away from the downtown area. According to the National Autonomous University of Mexico, UNAM, this facility is improperly built and it represents a risk of pollution to the underground water deposits. Originally, these deposits were built open to the environment, but as of today, satellite images show that the graveyards are sealed, appearing to be covered with only sand. Not a great method in a region known for occasional strong winds and sandstorms. Radioactive wind is something that is rather less than ideal. Meanwhile, Vincente was used as a scapegoat by the administration of the hospital, allegedly being threatened to pressure him into signing a confession saying that he stole the equipment. Vincente later claimed, "The truth is that we were never told that the machine had contamination, not one sign with a skull or something like that." This was confirmed and documented in the CNSNS report, adding that the warehouse didn't comply with the minimal requirements for the storage of the machine. The hospital denied wrongdoing, with one of its doctors going so far as to claim, "I don't think we should accept liability. We are not guilty for the acts from a disloyal employee." Of course, the hospital had previously purchased the machine without a license from an imaging company in Fort Worth, Texas for around $16,000. As if this doesn't sound negligent enough, the hospital wasn't able to hire a specialist for the machine to be used with, so it just sat in the warehouse collecting dust rather than ever being used. So at this point, you might be wondering, well, what were the health consequences for the population? Well, as you might expect, given it was difficult just to track down the contaminated materials and how massively widespread the issue ended up being, this is hard to say. Looking at the definitely contaminated individuals, medical studies reported cases of chromosome damage and abnormal sperm or diminished counts among the junkyard workers and other neighboring citizens. These signs have the potential to progress into other health issues such as cancer or congenital defects for their offspring. More worrying is that there is no way to measure the actual damage to those exposed in the long run due to stray pellets or houses made with contaminated steel, etc. As to what happened to Vincente, the owner of the pickup truck, shockingly, despite pretty extreme exposure and initial radiation poisoning symptoms, including burns, vomit, and diarrhea, he was fine in the long term. He even earned the nickname Vincente the Bionic Man due to his apparent good health after his exposure. And that really just leaves us wondering, what is the relationship between surviving radiation exposure and bionics? Who knows? But I mean, it's still an awesome nickname. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, please do check out our fantastic sponsor, Dollar Shave Club. And as always, thank you for watching.